Hi there, welcome to the Dietary Restriction Kitchen. I'm Nat Ryan. Today in the kitchen, I'll be showing you how to make cinnamon brown sugar oatmeal muffins. Really delicious, really simple. And the reason why I'm showing you this is I want you to realize that even for these common things like muffins, you can make them gluten-free, dairy-free, nut-free, whatever kind of free that you need to do, and it's very simple, and you get a win. When you do something for yourself like that, it's an easy win, and it gives you confidence in the kitchen. So let's get started. So the first thing we do is start with some gluten-free 1-to-1 flour blend, and to that we're going to add some ground flax, so ground flaxseed, and some baking powder. And we're going to put in some cinnamon. Of course, you have to have cinnamon in there. And a little bit of salt. So the salt goes in. So we're going to mix that all up in the bowl. I just use any old spoon or whatever. Heck, sometimes I even go in there with my hands and do it with my hands. But, you know, for the sake of being clean and neat and tidy for the video, doing with a spoon. Then we're going to add brown sugar. So that's packed brown sugar. So it's going to get in there in a heap, in like a lump. So we're going to work to get that brown sugar incorporated. Again, like I say, sometimes I go in there with my hands, but you don't really need to see me doing that. If you don't want to get in with your hands either, you don't have to. You just have to make sure that the brown sugar doesn't stay lumpy bumpy in there. So what I like to do, if I don't want to get my hands in there, is to use a whisk and sort of like break it up, almost like you're cutting that brown sugar into the mixture. You know, and that way it won't be too big lumpy bumpies in there of the brown sugar. So if there's a little bit, it's okay, but not too big lumps. You want them to be small. And almost not to be non-existent. So there you go, pretty even there. And then in another bowl, we're going to crack open an egg and put the egg in to the bowl. And then we're going to give it a light beating with a whisk. Not, too fluffy, but just give it a light beating there. Okay, nothing big. And then we're going to add some GF oat milk. So of course that is dairy-free as well. And then we're going to add some vanilla. Now I'm showing you the jar because it is a clear vanilla, and so you wouldn't see it. It would look like water me putting it in, but it is vanilla. So I'm going to give that a little stir. Let's give it a stir, and then we're going to add some melted vegan margarine into the bowl. We're going to give that a good old stir. Now, these wouldn't be oatmeal muffins without some oats, right? But you have a few different ways that you can add oats to this recipe. If you made the GF oat milk to put in, have made that to put in with your oatmeal muffins, you're going to have residue from making that oat milk, and the oats for that are like clammy, and what you do is you just whisk that in with the wet ingredients for these oatmeal muffins, and that's how you get the oats in. If you haven't done that, but you still want to add the oats in, another way to do that is soak out half a cup of oats, GF oats, in some water, and then take a colander, strain your oats, give them a press out so that you don't have too much liquid in it, and then add that in with your wet ingredients for these oatmeal muffins, whisking it in to make sure it's not all clumpy and bumpy. Alternatively to that, if you don't want to fuss and bother with any of that, you take 2 or 3 heaping tablespoons of just the dry GF oats and put them in with your dry ingredients for these oatmeal muffins. So either way of these 3 options will give you oats in your oatmeal muffins. So for me, I've opted for option number 1. I just made the GF oat milk, and so I'm using the residue, the oats that were left over from doing that, and using those and putting them in with the wet ingredients for these muffins. And I just whisk them in, and they will incorporate in really, really well. And so just give it a good old stir. Then we're going to take the dry ingredients, and we're going to dump all that wet ingredients in with the dry. Set that bowl aside, and then we're going to mix them together. And just as with all muffins and quick breads, you want to mix that in just until they're combined. You don't want to overmix. If you do that, it makes muffins or quick breads kind of rubbery. So I like to just make sure there's no pockets of floury mixture somewhere hiding at the bottom or the sides, and then I mix and then stop when I see it like that. Then I add stuff in. So I've got some dried cranberries, some chopped walnuts that I'm adding, and some chocolate chips. Here they are. There we go. Chocolate chips in too. You can add whatever you like to these muffins or nothing at all. It's completely up to yourself. If you have to be nut free, then of course don't add nuts. And now we're going to fill the muffin tin. I use my silicone muffin tin liners. You can use paper liners, or if you don't have those, you can grease the muffin tin really well. And I like to use an ice cream scoop to get the batter into the muffin tin. And I don't have one with a trigger, so I have to use a spoon to help me. But it puts in the exact amount that you need into each cup. There we go. And I've filled them all up, and now what I like to do is just add a little bit of brown sugar to the top of each muffin before they're baked, and that will give it a nice crispy sweet coating. You don't need to do that if you don't like to. And then they go into the oven for a bake. So once the muffins are done baking, you've got some delicious oatmeal muffins that smell wonderfully of cinnamon and vanilla and just delicious. And I hope you enjoy it. I know I'm going to enjoy this one. See you next time at the Dietary Restriction Kitchen. Until next time, I'm Nat Ryan. If you like this video, then click the like button below. If you'd like to keep alive the vibe, then hit the subscribe. Thanks so much for watching Dietary Restriction Kitchen. Bye for now.